Within my 50 plus episode run, I've tried my best to cover a variety of medias and formats, but I'm afraid there is one field that I have neglected, and that would be anime and manga. Now, it's not like I'm ignorant about this stuff. I actually took a really great course in college, where it looked at the history of the industry as well as the history of Japan itself. I can identify the culture, the themes, conventions, and all the unique subgenres. The problem lies with the fact that I just haven't had as much exposure as other people. I don't know what's popular and what's underrated. Really the backbone of this show. My small window of exposure to new stuff was back in 2005. I was taking the aforementioned class and used to work at a Best Buy's. And since there weren't a lot of places to rent new anime, I just used my employee discount to buy it. Naturally, I gravitated towards the classics and anything by Miyazaki, but most of the time I just blindly plucked whatever was on the shelves. Sometimes I came across something really good, and sometimes I found some real garbage. Nowadays my budget has gotten tighter, like everyone else's really. I have become a combination of busy and poor, and with a 4-episode installment costing about $20, that's the first luxury to go. So now I go bargain bin diving a lot. I watch what I can find on TV, which is usually some neutered kitty crap based on a recently discontinued broken as hell tabletop game. Sci-Fi used to have an anime showcase, but you can totally tell some dipshit executive screwed that as bad as their name because they called it Animonday. Yeah, there's nothing I want to do after the first day of a long work week than to stay up until 11 at night and watch something from 20 years ago that I can probably find on YouTube. But on that same note, luckily you have companies posting series on YouTube, Hulu, or even Adult Swim, so the material is far more accessible than ever. Wait, what? It's $1 to rent this shit now? Oh, fuck you. By the way, I say fields when I am talking about anime and manga because they are not exports, they are not genres, they're not even a style. And that is, despite getting an A in that class, I still can't quite grasp that there are things that are these things, and things that are not. And when I ask the same question I've been asking for the last 6 years, namely, what's the criteria? Appearance, culture, production, origin of the country, story conventions? The answer I always get back is usually because. At that point I realized there was no way I could win since people were so driven to keep these concepts as vague as Lovecraftian lore or Taco Bell beef. But that was exciting to me. I liked the isolation. I like not having people in my face saying this sucked and this was the greatest thing ever. Because just like everything else, most of the time people create expectations that are never really met. So since I'm not as knowledgeable as other reviewers, I decided to come up with a new segment to showcase my unique views on anime and manga. This is...
These donuts are great! Jelly-filled are my favorite! Nothing beats a jelly-filled donut!
You want some of my homemade muffins? Yeah! Ooh, they got chocolate chips too!
Oh, I figured you must be hungry, so I baked you some cookies.
But getting back to the point, I decided if I couldn't choose something that was unknown, I could choose something that was at least infamous, but that I had different opinions on than most. And that's Grenadier, the Beautiful Warrior.
Hello, so we meet again.
I think we could start by looking at the covers of the DVDs, since that's how I first noticed them. Just by taking a look at the cover of Volume 1, you can kinda get an idea what it's about. And Volumes 2 and 3 seal the deal. Yep, there's no disguising what the main draw of this series was supposed to be. I'll just take a look at the taglines on the back. Rushina's busting out the big guns. Double the action. This double-barreled lassie is a whole other caliber. By the way, they say double-barreled, but Rushina, the title character, only has one gun. Get it? It's innuendo. They're talking about her boobies.
The ones on her chest!
But listen here, I'm gonna say this right now, and I want everyone, even the ladies out there, to listen to me. Don't get sucked into the boobies. You are going to miss out on the point I'm trying to make. But first, let's just set up the story, which starts with this swordsman for hire, Yajiro, a mercenary so badass he can cut bullets down in midair. Turns out he's been hired by a group of local villagers who are trying to free their lord from the Japanese blob and his army of gunmen. And since this is one of those fakey feudal period Japan settings, you know, the kind where people have access to technology and clothing that couldn't have possibly existed back then, the peasants are instantly mowed down by AKs. Run away! Run away! After a retreat, Yajiro comes across our heroine, Rushina Tendo, who kindly lets him hide in her cleavage.
You there, woman.
Yes?
By any chance, have you seen a young samurai with a long sword on his back?
A young samurai with a long sword? No, I haven't seen anyone like that today.
Are you from around here?
No, I'm a traveler.
Let's go.
Huh? But Hey, wait for me, bro!
Shut up!
Wait for me, bro. And by now you think this is setting the pace for the whole series. You got some perky, sweet bobblehead that can shoot. Well, just wait a second and listen to her little philosophy, which is not as deep as her cleavage, but...
Do you know what the ultimate battle strategy is?
Huh?
To eliminate the enemy's will to fight without fighting them. That's what I was taught by a certain someone that I know. And the way to achieve that is that I must be unarmed.
Must be unarmed? Do you mean naked?
I must keep smiling. And I must hold the enemy close to my soft bosom. Oh, I've done it again. I gave my little speech, but I just can't seem to keep from shooting my gun.
So even though she's a senshi, which is Japanese for gunman, but in the context of this series, you might as well replace it with Jedi.
I knew it. There's my reward. It's mine!
Wait a minute, no! That smoke. Ashikabi. Yachan, it's a trap!
What?
I'm sorry.
Force is strong with this one.
She tries to use non-violence and diplomacy, which for her translates to, I'll be your best friend.
I don't have any money, but I do have a smile.
But I only accept a smile if it also comes with cash.
How about just a smile this one time?
Die! She dodged it!
That precious Galdo of yours, it was designed for taking over castles. A multiple firing gun designed for maximum damage. However, it's slow and it's not very accurate. Old man, you don't even know how to use a gun, do you?
Oh no, she didn't!
Since you're so unwilling to listen and downright rude, you don't get a smile.
Kill her!
So naturally she shoots all the men down, missing their vital organs of course, only to come across a problem of her own.
Not bad, girl. However, your gun is a .38 revolver. 6 shots and you're done. I think that you're the one who doesn't really know how to use a gun, girl.
Okay, I'm sending that one into Mythbusters. Now, believe it or not, this is actually a deal breaker for most people that see this, because nothing outrageous ever happens in any other series. Isn't that right, Ghost Nappa?
Hi.
So after literally beating the pants off a fat bastard and rescuing the hostage, Yajiro decides his best bet is to travel with Rushina.
And if we join forces together, we can rule the world!
Of course!
In this chaotic world, if I could just get even one person to stop fighting...
Oh please, give me a break. There seems to be a huge difference between what you preach and what you practice. Showing off your shooting skills like that.
I know, you're right. But that's the ideal I'm working towards, and one day I'll reach that goal. That's what this journey's all about for me.
And then the episode ends. Yeah, that was it. Not exactly what you were expecting, huh? Turns out the sexual nature of this series, although always present, never goes beyond shots of her cleavage, pelvic thrusts while shooting, and bathing.
And you never really get a good look at her naked boobs anyway.
And yes, there is possible innuendo.
It got thicker all of a sudden.
But really, those are the lines we already finished with. That's what she said. This is in a battle between Rushina and a Child King who has been secretly training with a super weapon that grows stronger the more he fights. You know, one of those ancient, indestructible, immortality-granting Guyver armors that they had back then. But Rushina uses some fancy shooting to destroy the armor, and the boy ages instantly. And so she proceeds to give his hormones one hell of a jump start.
It's all right now. Have no fear. There are more people on your side than you may even realize.
Now, apparently, this gesture is supposed to be more motherly than sexual, as Rushina reassures a troubled king that it's his kindness and wisdom that makes his kingdom great, and not brute force.
Can I ever be forgiven?
Of course, it'll be fine. You'll see.
Basically, if you had two friends, and one said this is the story of a young woman who was trained at a young age to fight and kill if need be, but in her job as a double and bodyguard for a political and philosophical leader, who she respects very much, begins to recognize that her training is keeping her from truly understanding her mentor's beliefs. So to overcome this conflict within herself, she goes on a pilgrimage to practice and teach her philosophy. But as she journeys, her friends and her stumble upon a conspiracy that threatens to engulf the world in war. And it's up to her to get back home and get to the bottom of it, all while running a gauntlet of the highest assassins and batshit insane bandits. Then you have another friend who tells you it's all about a girl with these ginormous boobs, and she goes around shooting her gun, and she's always jumping around and taking baths, and they put her in these little outfits so her titties are always sticking out. And you know what? They would both be right. Where the problem lies is this series trying to tell a story or deliver fan service, and how the two dualities interact. And yes, most of the time they clash, but on the other hand, I think that's supposed to be the point. It's a show that wants you to get your head out of the gutter, at the same time yelling, "Hey everybody, check out my kick-ass gutter!"
What are you waiting for? Shoot her!
But she's unarmed, sir.
That's her strategy. You have no idea what she may be hiding in her bosom.
Nice booby trap.
Whoa! What huge boobs you have! You have a really nice body. So how old are you? 16 years old?
No, you're not. You're 24. I know that's a mistake. Even if that's how it was in the original Japanese. I know this because every dubbing company operating today should have the good sense to stop turning impossibly hot women into underage teenagers. It does not translate between the cultures properly. Stop doing it! You know, even though Rushina's the main character, I never really feel like I'm seeing the world from her perspective. I usually share the views of all the other people around her, including a little girl named Mikan, the Balloon Master. Yes, a character that uses balloons as decoys and weapons, who has an opportunity to take revenge on the man who killed her family.
Please don't shoot me, little girl!
I don't feel sorry for you. It's all because of you!
Mikan!
If you should kill someone that you have a grudge against, then someone else will have a grudge against you and will try to kill you. The fighting and killing will never end.
At first I thought to myself, this is bullshit. There's no reason to keep this guy around. And now don't get me wrong, I still feel that way about certain mad dog killers. You know, about after the billionth time that the Joker has escaped from prison and slaughtered about a half a dozen people doing it, I have to wonder why, if not Batman, the state hasn't killed his ass by now. But this guy isn't the Joker. He's just some old puke. His gang is dismantled, he's cowering for his life. Rushina's right. There's no reason to get blood on your hands. Even Yajiro, who earlier wanted to rule the world, is now seeing things her way.
All of those who I've killed. If I were to absorb them through my hands, I would become a monster.
A monster?
That's right. I think I was already starting to become one. Until the day I met you.
And it's always amusing to see the almost sudden gear shift in Rushna's demeanor, going from a bubbly blonde to either a supreme badass or philosopher.
Don't underestimate me just because I'm a kid. I know how to use a gun, and I'm not afraid either.
I believe you, but you have to pull the hammer back first. I don't think you'll be able to do it on your own. I have it set pretty tight.
Huh?
I did it deliberately, to be able to feel the weight of a life.
The weight of a life?
If you're gonna shoot someone, you have to have a certain awareness about it.
Not like those cop-outs that kill 1 million people off camera. But what's even more amusing is seeing those around her go through psychological whiplash. Especially those precious few seconds when the opposing villain realizes that shit just got real.
One shot! With just one shot, she sent out a whole storm of bullets! She used just one bullet to split the lead bullet, causing the fragments to destroy the subsequent bullets! Can she really stop all the bullets I shot with just one of her bullets?
I mean, it's ridiculous. I just don't believe it.
By now, I bet you're thinking, you're giving this series way too much credit. Well, I don't know. I have a hunch the series is at least self-aware, because they introduced the character of Tenpa, a childhood friend of Rushna's, who grew up to be one of the Jutensen, those elite assassins I was talking about earlier. I think of him as a metaphor for the series. He stays focused on his goals most of the time, but gets easily distracted by Rushna. He's also a pervert, which I guess pokes fun at the type of audience this series may have attracted.
Why is my head resting on Rushna's lap?
I feel like I've died and gone to heaven!
This is bad. I can't let my emotions take over.
Naturally, he has to choose between killing her or disobeying his orders and becoming an outlaw himself.
Rushna, when I show you this maneuver, it will be time for you to die.
That's the best you've got.
It wasn't my first choice, no.
So, are we fighting now, or what? What's going on?
Sure seems that way, doesn't it?
Oh man, I'm on the edge of my seat. I wonder what's going to happen now. Oh, sure, there's another DVD in the series, but you never know. Could be blank. Oh, of course Tenpai doesn't kill her. In fact, in the episode leading up to the finale, he helps her sneak around the same town that they're both wanted in, if not for only a shot at those double whammies. But the only reason Rushna returns home is to find out why her old master has put a bounty on her head, and why she's suddenly hanging out with the Japanese Joker. Turns out that Lady Tenchi was abducted and replaced by another body double that has aspirations of global conquest. Now you see, as long as you don't say take over the world.
Of course!
That's right, we meet Rushna's rival, and for all purposes, evil twin, that was never mentioned or even alluded to up until the very last episode of the series. The last half of the last episode, really. And, okay, this is gonna sound really bizarre, but does this henchman remind anyone else of an evil human version of Fluttershy?
The road ends here. I am prepared to rule the world now in Tenchi's place.
Yay.
I say this is pretty lame, but it actually adds to this series a second time through. I mean, it was always obvious that something was up, and now you notice all those little odd pauses and inflections. So in a way, we've been introduced to this character from the very beginning, we just never knew her true nature. And if you think I've blown the whole series for anyone that's actually interested in more of this, I really haven't. Although the anime is only 12 episodes long, the manga goes on for 7 volumes. Now, despite everything I've said here, I know a lot of people have said this series is just Trigun with boobs. Fine, I'll give you that. But on the other hand, it's Trigun with boobs, which is another reason I like anime and manga. The industry feels all those little niches, crossbreeding different properties. Either way, I think we need more storylines like this, where characters already have everything they need to completely obliterate an opponent, but choose to restrain themselves. I believe there was a great warrior poet that once said, "Takes no skill to kill." Of course, by that very logic that this is Trigun with boobs, this series can't be feminist friendly. Well, why not? You have a woman who's not only an expert marksman, but an expert tactician, knowledge seeker, and good Samaritan. You'd think out of everything, this would be the series to show that girls are more than just big tits. And if you're still crying foul, fine, that's great. If you feel that way, I'll try my best to drive away Rushina and all of her kind. Just as soon as we get rid of that guy.
Check out my bazillion ab muscles.
But CR, what about the Pleasure Palace? Okay, yes, there is a whorehouse featured in a couple episodes. And in fact, in the last confrontation, Mikan distracts an entire army by handing out coupons. But the backstory of this involves a gang of bandits completely obliterating a village, leaving only the women. And even though there are many, 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 many better things today, it was considered a viable option not too long ago in human history. It's not called the world's oldest profession for nothing. Not condoning it or anything, but I would be lying to say that it didn't happen and still doesn't happen today. And yes, it is very overly romanticized here. But even with the blatant fan service, it's always the women that have the final say about their sexuality.
The reason I started this pleasure palace is because I was following the teachings of Miss Tenshi. Sex appeal is the most effective way to strip men of their armor.
Isn't that a bit devious? Or shall we say, unfair gameplay? It's like having cheat codes for a video game, only in real life. And the cheat codes aren't codes, they're boobs. You see?
Nah. As far as I'm concerned, if men are dumb enough to be distracted by lumps of fat with nipples attached, then it's my duty to take advantage of their weak-willed mind.
I still think it's like using cheat codes. But, like I said, the codes aren't codes. They're boobs. They're big boobs of cheating.
For me starting out, this represents all the qualities of what anime is capable of. It can be exciting, funny, intriguing, philosophical, or just blatant fan service, small house production, and less than par localization. So does it all work together? Not perfectly, but since when has that stopped anyone on this site from enjoying something? Unfortunately for this series, all these traits seem to be blocked to the general public by the latter. The great big, firm, bouncy, unbridled, impossibly shiny ladder.
Your one-stop shop for corn and frisbees.
Tits.
Books about math. Come and get 'em at
Tits.
Just ride the tit show right up the mountain too.
Tits.
Come on down where you can slam your own penis in the door of your luxury sedan. We will make that happen for you.
Ah, thank you, Tits.
All the kids want to go to Tits for the summer. Your little sister is insane for
Tits.
I bet I know where you four want to go.
Tits.
I really like it when my grandma puts peanut butter on carrot sticks.
Tits.
One time I chased a squirrel into a laundromat and after that I couldn't find him.
Tits.
I am not lying, ladies and gentlemen. You spend more than $10, I'll let you come down here and snap my suspenders. I am that crazy.
Tits.
Mexican sweetbread. We've got that in stock at Tits. If you don't come down here in the next 10 minutes, I'm gonna slam my penis in the door of a luxury sedan. Come on down, wash my dishes. Anybody got a good woman? Bring her down. I'll show her who's boss. I know how to handle a woman when she gets out of control.
Tits.
Mom, bring your newborn babies and I will pick up a brick and hit your newborn baby with that brick. Come anytime. We will not run out of bricks. If you want to eat a big mouthful of sand, then come on down here and try it and I'll kick you in the face. You'll talk like a pussy. Pussy! Look at my little teeth. Don't you touch my suspenders.
Tits.